Howdy, guys, and welcome to night number 2 of Big Brother 24's overnight feed recaps. And welcome to Cliff Notes Broadcasting, a long way away from the Big Brother house. Now, here in Houston, it's about 105 degrees in the shade today. But in honor of the Have Not house guest, I'm wearing a coat. If you look at them on the live feeds, they're all wearing hoodies. They're all bundled up. As I record this, Monty is still not asleep. He's in the lounge room hanging out because he is talking about how cold and miserable it is in the Have Not room. And it's true. The Have Not room is absolutely the coolest, coldest room in the Big Brother house, which I kind of like, but a little bit miserable for these guys. So guys, in RV, I'll be thinking about you when I'm out sweating away this afternoon. So, quick summary before we talk about the overnight feed recaps. Daniel is HOH. Pooch is a backstage boss. He's safe this week. I don't know if there'll be any more tasks that he has to do or his work for the week is done, but he's safe this week. We've got Paloma, Alyssa, and Brittany are all backstage VIPs and potentially at risk somehow at Thursday night's eviction ceremony. We know that one of them will be saved by America's vote. Not really sure yet how the rest of it will work. We probably won't find out until the broadcast starts up Thursday night. But those three a little bit at risk. The big question, who's going up for nominations? I expect nominations to be taking place today as part of a standard Big Brother schedule, but we'll find out. So what happened yesterday? What happened last night? Well, first of all, the house guests got a couple of hours in the backyard just to go explore, get out in the sun, relax a little bit. Just a couple hours before they had to come back in. I'm sure the backyard was shut down so they can start building the set for the veto competition, which I expect to probably be taking place tomorrow on Saturday. But at least they got a taste of the backyard, which is always appreciated. Now, night number 1, we saw just a lot of people trying to get to know each other, remembering people's names, figuring out who is who. We've progressed a little bit last night, this evening. We're finally starting to see people talking a little bit more game. And some people, Paloma, absolutely playing the game hardcore at this point, setting up alliances and everything else. But we're starting to see a lot of people break up into little groups of 2 and figure out maybe, if not their ride or die, at least who they think they can trust the most and work with going forward. So we're starting to see the game progress a little bit. Now, Daniel talked several times last night about he was a little bit perturbed that no one was really coming up and talking game to him. As HOH, he expected to see a line of people wanting to visit with him. That hadn't really happened. We started to see that last night a little bit. Someone mentioned at some point last night they felt like maybe this was a little bit of an after effect of the Frenchie effect, that Frenchie played so hard as HOH his first week that maybe everyone, because everyone saw last season's episodes, their season, that everyone maybe is playing a little bit more hesitant just because they saw what happened to Frenchie when he played so hard. And that could be the case. If that is the case, I'm afraid Paloma did not get the memo because she's certainly not hesitant about trying to put things together. We're going to talk about all of that. All right, so first of all, let's talk as quick as we can, because with 16 people, there's a lot of conversations that take place. So I mentioned that Daniel, a little perturbed that people weren't coming to see him. Amira was the first one to visit Daniel, and she actually did it yesterday. She may have done it even before they went in the backyard. I can't remember for certain, but Amira was the first one to go up and talk to Daniel, and he seemed very appreciative of it. Daniel's also doing a pretty good job of just playing dumb. We know that he's a huge fan. He said he's tried out 10 times, 10 years in a row now, but he's very much playing dumb to Amira and letting her just kind of lead the conversation and getting as much information as he can from her. She suggested to him that if it was her, that she would get out one of the stronger physical players. And she tells Daniel, if you do something like that, I certainly have your back if you want to go after one of the stronger players. And she then proceeds to explain how a back door works, how you can use a back door to maybe get someone out that's a strong player that you don't want to compete in veto. And Daniel's just taking it all and saying, oh, okay, well, thank you. I'm just looking for advice and not giving out near as much information as he's taking in. I think Daniel so far has been playing the HOH game pretty well. He hadn't gone overboard with letting power go to his head or anything else. He's just letting people come to him, getting as much information as he can. And so again, Amira's suggesting maybe go after one of the stronger guys. They start talking about who they kind of like, they don't like. All right. Now, last year, I think the term of the season was, I'm feeling a certain kind of way. Hear that over and over again. This year, the buzzword, if we're playing a drinking game and you're drinking every time you hear this word, you'll never make it through the overnight feeds, because the word vibe over and over again, everyone's vibing with everyone else. But they're talking about who they're vibing with, Amira and Daniel. Both of them are talking about how they're cool with Paloma, how they're cool with Alyssa. At one point, talk about who maybe they aren't so cool with. Daniel mentions that Michael going home might not be a bad thing, since he's a super fan. He's not one of the alpha male kind of guys, but he's a super fan, and maybe that's not a bad thing either. Amira is suggesting, trying to keep the target painted on these strong guys. She's pointing out to Daniel, saying, look, those 4 guys that volunteered to be have-nots, they're not doing it just to be nice to you. They're probably doing it because they figured you'd feel sorry for them and they'd be less likely to get nominated all of that. And Daniel immediately says, oh, I didn't think of that. Wow, that makes a lot of sense, Mary. Yeah, okay, well, I'll keep that in mind. Amir also suggests to Daniel during this conversation that, yeah, those 4 guys, they're working together. They got to be working together. And she says, and as well, I think Taylor might be working with them as well. She's hanging out with them a lot. I kind of think Taylor's working with those guys. So, just keep that in mind, Daniel. Amir is certainly setting up the folks that she wants Daniel to be looking at that don't involve her. So we have that conversation. Next visitor to Daniel in the HOH room is Nicole. And this is a conversation that Daniel's been waiting for, kind of that I was waiting for as well. I'm high on Nicole. I picked her as potentially winning the whole thing at the end of the season. Daniel really wants to work with Nicole. He brings her in. They seem to click pretty well with each other. They almost immediately declare a final 2. They even have a name. I think it's Road Rats, if I understood it correctly. So they've already declared their ride or dies, their final 2. No matter what else happens, they're going to work together going forward. And I think that could be the case. Later on, we've got Daniel mentions that he came into the house looking for his KC, and he thinks he's found her through Nicole. And so we'll see how these 2 play together. We do have some conversations about who they may be able to work with. Nicole mentions Turner. Turner's kind of surprised me. I wasn't sure how he's going to do in this game, but she mentions Turner. Says, yeah, he's my little homie. He follows me everywhere. He may be good to work with as well. And Daniel's receptive to that. So we've got that. Speaking of Turner, we did have a quick conversation. Turner and Brittany have also declared, I don't know if we want to call it a final 2. They've certainly declared that they're going to maybe be each other's ride or dies. That's a final 2, right? Should be. But it seems like Turner and Brittany are maybe going to work together. Turner is doing okay getting involved in a lot of alliances without necessarily being the instigator, the key guy. He's managed to work it where he's kind of getting drug into a lot of alliances without necessarily being considered the head. And I'm not sure that's a bad situation to be in at this point in time. All right, we've got Pooch eventually coming up to visit Daniel, and then Turner. His name keeps coming up. So we've got Pooch and Daniel and Turner all up in the HOH room talking. The 3 of these guys have, without a lot of time involved, have formed an alliance as well. Now remember, Daniel's HOH, Pooch is backstage boss. Turner won his little competition, just putting jewelry on your face, but he still won a competition. So I think the 3 of them see the other 2 as kind of other power players right now. And so they have formed an alliance with each other. No name or anything else, but they're agreeing they're going to work together. They also all talk about the fact that they really like Kyle. They maybe like to bring him into this group as well. They think he's doing pretty good. Turner mentions the fact that he also likes Alyssa, that he feels like he's vibing with her as well. But Daniel's a little bit more hesitant. He says, yeah, let me feel her out a little bit before we start doing anything else with her. Let's just play it slow. Agreed. Every year we see these alliances form in the span of 5 minutes. You get 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. In my season, nine people in alliance before you know it, and it's too big and it doesn't work. Daniel's kind of slow playing a little bit, getting people's ideas, and again, I think that works pretty well. So we've got that going on. Brittany has talked to Daniel as well. She came up at one point and knocking on a door, ringing a doorbell in the HOH room, and not getting the answers. That's because Daniel was outside in the backyard with everyone else. But Brittany later eventually does get her chance to talk to Daniel. Not a whole lot happens here. She basically at the end says, "Look, I don't really know what to offer you, but I can be a number for you. I'm certainly willing to support you and work with you and be loyal and everything else. But beyond that, I don't know. Maybe not the strongest pitch I've ever seen, but at least she does get some FaceTime one-on-one with Daniel. So she got her opportunity as well. We have another conversation, not in the HOH room. This time it's in the bathroom. This is between Paloma and Amira and Jasmine. Now, remember, the 6 girls in the house, all the girls minus Nicole and Taylor have kind of formed this pseudo girls alliance as well. So we've got 3 of them, Paloma, Amira, and Jasmine, talking to bathroom. Amira is suggesting that Taylor may be spying for the guys. Remember, she already suggested that Taylor was working with the guys. Now she's suggesting that maybe Taylor is spying for the guys because suddenly Taylor's spending a lot more time hanging around the other girls. And so she's got to be spying, right? Well, it could just be that Taylor recognizes that her relationships maybe aren't as strong with some of these girls as they are with some of the guys. And so she's trying to rectify that, which I'd be doing if I was in her position. But Amira, whether she believes it or she's just trying to keep a target on Taylor, who knows which it is, but she's suggesting that there's an ulterior motive of Taylor just trying to spy on the girls a little bit as well. So we've got that. Now, Paloma, so it sounds like Amira maybe, even though she talked to Daniel about putting up strong guys and all that, she's also throwing Taylor out there a little bit. But Paloma is saying that she's going to suggest to Daniel as well that he put up 2 guys. It seems like that's where they want to go. Again, protect the girls' alliance, right? We've got Pooch and Monty talking in the storage room. I would not call there's a final 2 yet, but they definitely talk about how they feel good working together, the 2 bros and all of that. They're also thinking, and I think it's a shared concern, that either or could be a target, as we hear the girls suggesting, go after those strong, muscular guys, and they recognize that. So they're feeling good about working together. They're also thinking that this alliance that's been floated about working with Alyssa and Paloma and Amira would be good. They're looking forward to a little bit bigger alliance that involves some of the girls as well. And we'll talk about that more a second because it's become more finalized. We've got Alyssa and Michael, who had a long talk downstairs at the dining room table. Not really game related, talking about Michael's wedding, movies, just a lot of different things. But I was glad to see it because I've seen Michael coming into a lot of rooms. He's a super fan. He knows a lot. Intellectually and all that, he's got it. Socially, a little awkward at times coming into the rooms and trying to get involved in conversations. And I empathize completely, Michael, I understand. But it was nice to see him and Alyssa just talking and getting to know each other a little bit. And he'll come into his own. It's hard. You're in a house with 15 other alpha type characters that are loud, over the top. So he's having a little hard time, and I hope he gets a chance to kind of spread his wings a little bit. All right, we've got Jasmine and Paloma. They want to talk to Daniel. They recognize people are starting to go up there and visit now, so they want to get their chance to talk to Daniel. But they're concerned that they're going to be seen by all the guys that are just staying up there playing bumper pool in the lounge area all day long. Jasmine's suggesting, saying, well, that's why they're up there. They're keeping an eye on who's going in. They're wanting to talk to Daniel as well. They are up there just to play pool. It's location wise. She may be right. All right, we've got Daniel talking, or Michael has been wanting to have a one-on-one conversation with Daniel for a while. He mentions it at one point, and Daniel says, yeah, just come up. Yeah, you don't have to ask me, just come up. And eventually he does come up, has a fairly quick conversation with Daniel, a little bit awkward. He tells Daniel says, who would you put up? And Michael says something along the lines of, well, I'd probably put someone up that didn't come up and visit with you. Maybe you may need a little more meat on your argument than that, but he's thrown out his pitch. Later, Daniel talks about it's the longest 5 minutes of his life, that he wished he had his phone so he could find someone to text him to break up the conversation. It didn't go as strongly as Michael wanted to go, but at least Michael did get his chance to pitch to Daniel himself. We've got Amira talking to Indy and Alyssa, and she throws out this idea. She says, look, we've told Daniel or suggested, more tell, but for Daniel to put up two of the strong guys. If he doesn't do that, it probably means that he's aligned with them, and that's why he's not doing it. Well, I think it's a little too early to assume it has to be an either or situation. I am worried, though, that no one's really, some seasons the HOH is able to pull in a lot of power. This season doesn't seem as much to be the case with Daniel. I'm really worried that once he finishes up with his HOH and his power is basically gone, he could find himself in the firing line the week following, because people just aren't really respecting he or his position just yet, which I don't really get. I like Daniel. I think he's done a good job, but it just doesn't seem like people care that much right now. Now, maybe that changes just a little bit later as we get closer to veto ceremonies and things like that. We've got Paloma gets her visit in with Daniel. A lot of visits tonight. Daniel ought to be happy. Paloma gets her visit with Daniel in the HOH, saying they vibe with each other. Drink. Discussion about Monty as a strong competitor, and that Monty, if he's working with you, could be a great asset to help with an alliance, but he also would be a huge threat if you're not working with them. So not really sure how they're going to handle Monty. Paloma also talking about who she likes. She's saying that she likes Jasmine. She likes Amira. She doesn't trust Taylor. No, big surprise that she would mention that. And says that she does mention, says, hey, look, here's the thing, Daniel. I'm the voice of the girls. Yeah, just come to me. I'll tell you what the girls are thinking. In fact, she says, come to me. I'll tell you what the girls are thinking, and hopefully you'll tell me what the guys are thinking, and we can share information and all that. Paloma has been spending a lot of time trying to make sure that she is the center of everything going on. A dangerous game to be playing. People start comparing notes. This girls' alliance is going to start comparing notes with this other alliance that Paloma also has tried to organize. You're going to get some people questioning your loyalty before too long, but Paloma's certainly playing the game hard to start with. So she said, I'll be the voice of the girls. You don't have to talk to anyone else. Just come to me. I'll tell you what the girls are thinking. They both do talk about the fact that they like Nicole. They feel like they could work with her as well. So we'll see where that goes. We've got Jasmine then talking to Daniel. She talks about the fact that Paloma and Daniel are her two top people that she feels really comfortable with. Their conversations cut short a little bit. Taylor comes in checking, probably wants to have a little conversation as well, sees other people doing it. But as a result, Jasmine doesn't really get to flesh out everything that she wanted to talk to Daniel about. Amira and Alyssa are talking. Think about the other side. They're suggesting go after some strong guys, but they're wondering who the strong guys may be telling Daniel that he should be putting up, trying to figure out who the other side may be targeting. They don't really know. They're going to try to figure out who that is. Now, I mentioned this girls' alliance minus Taylor and Nicole, all the other girls basically aligning together. Well, we've got another alliance that is formed. This is an alliance that was originally proposed by Paloma and Alyssa last night, at night number 1. It's starting to come together at this point in time. We've got in the storage room itself, Paloma and Alyssa and Monty, who basically said, all right, we're an alliance, but let's also bring in Amira, Kyle, and Pooch. So 3 guys, 3 women. They feel like all people they can work with, pretty strong players. And I got to say, it wouldn't be a bad alliance. I think they could probably do something together. Again, this was originally proposed by Alyssa and Paloma the very first night, and now it's coming together. And they've basically, only 3 of them of the 6 have agreed to it, but they've agreed this is going to be an alliance. They're going to let the others know and make this a little bit more formal. No name to it yet. I'm sure that'll happen here really quick. But we've got that. Paloma talking a little bit about, all right, if the 6 of us are going to work together, who's going home this week? Who are we going to target? She thinks that it could be Joseph, that Joseph would be a perfect target. He's not part of this alliance. He's not part of either one of the 2 alliances that she's a part of. So she's suggesting that Joseph maybe would be a perfect target. Not sure that's going to happen. I think Daniel has slightly different plans. She also mentions that saying, look, there's going to be 6 of us, but we can't raise suspicions by all of us meeting together in this house because people will notice. So instead, let's make sure we never all show up together. I'll just coordinate it. I'll talk to all the different people, make sure we're all on the same page. I'll be the coordinator. What a sacrifice, Paloma. Again, she's making sure that she's the main primary decision maker or key person within all these different groups. So they're talking about doing that kind of a la Cookout. Remember, Cookout last season said the same thing. Let's not all ever have all of us together. Paloma's taking from that and saying the same thing. We'll just do little groups at a time, and I'll make sure we're all tied in together. Paloma later tells Alyssa that this new alliance that they formed, that it's just like level 6 from season 20, and level 6 went a long way. So why shouldn't theirs go a long way as well? She also mentions the fact that she's not worried about Daniel. She's got Daniel wrapped around her little finger. And she may, based on what Daniel said a little bit later, but doesn't mean that you stay wrapped. There may be recognition and awareness on down the road. But for now, she feels like she's got Daniel absolutely wrapped around her little finger. Later, we got Alyssa talking about this alliance to Kyle. Says, hey, we want you to be a member. And Kyle's all in. Said, yeah, that's what I've been looking for. I've been looking for a place to land. I'm in, absolutely. Later, we've got Monty and Kyle talking about how maybe things could work. Remember, both of these are part of this alliance, where maybe they could go. They mentioned that that sending Terrence home may not be a bad idea. It's not going to ruffle any feathers. It would be an easy play to make at this point in time. They also, this is up in the have not room. They're talking about this. They're also talking about if they're going to be in this alliance, they want to stay loyal to the alliance. No floating or anything. That this is their alliance if they're going to do it. But Terrence's name came up. I don't want to hear Terrence's name mentioned as one of the week 1 nominees. I know what that was like. All right. We get another camera confession from Daniel up in the HOH room. He did it night 1. He does it again in night 2. Just a few of the key points that he makes during his talk to the camera. He'd like to put up Monty. Surprised me a little bit, but he's okay putting up Monty, but he is worried that if it didn't work out, that Monty's going to come right after him. And so that's always the threat when you go after a strong target. You better make your shot count or else you're in a bit of trouble. But he'd like to go for Monty, but worried about the repercussions if it doesn't work. He's liking Paloma. Remember, she said he's wrapped around her finger. Well, maybe so, because he's talking about how he really likes Paloma. He thinks that both of them want to work with the same people, so it seems like a natural fit. He also likes Jasmine, thinks that she's very genuine. We've had a few people have talked and said her Southern accent and everything, she almost seems fake because she's so genuine. But he's saying that, yeah, I think she's genuine. I'd love to work with her as well. Well, he's a little bit worried that Kyle hasn't taught game to him yet, but it is a little early, so perhaps that's okay. He says that he came in, I mentioned this before, he came in looking for his KC and he thinks he's found her in Nicole. He's also waiting still for Alyssa to come talk to him. Night number 1, it was Alyssa and Paloma that were really just buddy and doing a lot of talking together and everything else. As Paloma has really become more forward and aggressive in putting all this together, Alyssa's kind of backed off a little bit. Seems like she's laying a little bit more low. I don't think that's a bad idea. Now, maybe she needs to go talk to Daniel if he's noticing that she's not talking to him. I mean, you still have to keep your relationships up, but if you've got someone like Paloma who wants to run everything, may not be a bad way to go. So I think Alyssa's on the right track. She just can't let Paloma do it. She still has to talk to everyone, make sure everyone's aware and friendly with her as well. Now, the final point, maybe the biggest point, not just of his confessional, but of the whole evening. He makes a suggestion that maybe the easiest way out this week, I don't know what you mean by that. Being HOH isn't an easy way out. It's a chance to exert some power and control the game, but the terms he uses a little different. He says the easiest way out of this week may just be to put up Michael and Terrence on the block. Michael, a little socially awkward, but a super fan, so certainly a threat in his own manner. Terrence isn't going to ruffle any feathers. He's the old guy, whatever. So he's suggesting these two might be the easiest people to put up on the block. Well, we're going to find out pretty quick, I think. A couple more conversations. We've got Taylor talking to Pooch and Turner. She mentions, she says, yeah, I don't think there's going to be a competition today because Big Brother didn't tell us. They didn't tell us to go to bed or anything. That's not the way that works in the Big Brother house. You don't rely on Big Brother to give you any information. If there's going to be a competition today, and I think there will be, I think there's a veto competition probably taking place. Big Brother isn't going to say, guys, you ought to go to bed and get you sleep. No, they're not going to do anything like that. The house guests are going to wake up at some point early in the morning. There'll be the main TV screen in the living room will suddenly flash something along the lines of veto competition today. That's how they're going to find out. So no, Taylor shouldn't be relying on Big Brother to tell him what the schedule is going to be because it's not a reliable source. But she thinks that's going to be the case. After Taylor has left, I think they're in the storage room. After Taylor's left, Turner's talking to Pooch and saying, look, I just don't know about Taylor. They're both a little bit worried that she could turn on them somewhere down the road. So they're not really sold on Taylor just yet. Later, we've got Turner telling Daniel that they probably don't want her in this in this alliance that they're trying to put together, or alliance that they want to be part of. So they're kind of working with her, but not really. They also have it seems to me that Turner and Pooch. Every time I'm always going to think of that Tom Hanks movie. But anyway, it seems like Turner and Hooch are a little tighter with each other than either one of them is with Daniel. Remember, these three formed an alliance just a little bit earlier in the day. But it does seem like Pooch and Turner maybe are just a little tighter with one another than either one is with Daniel. So again, Daniel's just not getting the respect that you sometimes see with an HOH. Finally, they stayed up all night long. Night number one. I thought it was going to be an early night tonight. Not so much. We finally start getting the house guests in bed around 4:30 in the morning, Big Brother time. Late. Now, some of them were in bed a little bit earlier. Indy, Terrence, not all of them waited that long, but the bulk of the house guests start getting bedded down around 4:30 or so in the morning. We do have just a little bit more conversations, nothing too vital. We've got Paloma and Monty talking game in the bathroom, but Terrence gets up to go to the restroom. They hear someone coming. Paloma hides in the shower, which actually is pretty smart because Terrence does not see her. Once he goes into the bathroom, Paloma tries to walk out, but she didn't sneak out. She kind of ran out and with loud feet banging on the tiles as she heads out the door. But it doesn't seem like Terrence noticed. But certainly she and Monty are having a little bit of conversation. Eventually, then Kyle showed up as well. They've already talked to him about being in this big alliance, so he wasn't concerned or upset when he saw the two of them talking. They immediately brought him over, talked a little game, nothing too important, a little hard to hear over by the showers anyway, but they had a little bit of a conversation. Again, eventually everyone went to bed except for poor old Monty, who's all bundled up and eventually ends up in the lounge room upstairs, staying awake just because it's so cold in the have-not room. You got to sleep sometimes, my friend. So we'll see. It is cold up there, but you got to sleep sometimes, Monty. I don't know how you're doing it so far. I'm barely doing it. I don't know how he's doing it inside the house. All right. So with all that being said today, the key takeaways from the overnight feeds, I think, is that one, I personally think nominations are today. So for the people who wanted to have the conversations with Daniel, I hope they got it in when they did, because time's a wasting. You don't have a lot of time left. Probably the biggest takeaway is right now, if I had to guess who's going on the block based on Daniel's conversations, I think it's going to be Michael and Terrence. We'll see what happens with a veto. If someone wins veto, would they pull one of them off and try to backdoor someone? I think it may be too early for that. So I think you could end up Thursday night with Michael and Terrence on the block, and maybe one of these three backstage VIP girls. We don't know about that part yet, but not looking good for those two guys. But there's still a lot of game to be played, so we'll find out what happens. Guys, y'all have a fantastic Friday, end of the work week. We'll see if we actually do have nominations today. I'll be back tomorrow morning to talk about the Friday night recaps, see what happens once those noms have been made. I think we're going to start getting more and more gameplay every night as we go forward. So this is going to be a great season. Guys, y'all have a great Friday. Cheers, my friends. SKD 143